Girl, I am coming to you today helping you get your glow back from Alabama the Beautiful. This is Melissa Twig coming to you. And as I said before, we are doing a channel now. It's a channel for people who have suffered loss, a difficult diagnosis, or trying to come back from an illness and they just can't get over a hump. We're doing some inspiration. We're doing something about our physical appearance, or we should say body, mind, and spirit. Body, mind, and spirit. And today we're going to talk about mental and spiritual at the same time. But I have the cutest story to tell you. When my son was 4 years old, my oldest son, my kids were 2 years apart, and the oldest he was 4 and the other one was 2, and they would wear these pajamas all day long, and they would wear them everywhere. And the pajamas had a cape on the back, and one was Superman, one was Spider-Man. Then they'd switch up. And so they were just so cute, and they were running around the house. And my son would do this. He would run around the house going shh. Right here. So I was in the kitchen one day, and he came flying into the kitchen, because he was Superman that day. And he's like, shh. He said, "Mom, do you have supervision?" I said, "Well, son, I don't have supervision, but I have really good eyesight." And he said, "Well, does Daddy have supervision?" And I said, "No, son." I said, "Daddy wears glasses. He certainly doesn't have supervision." He said, "Well, what about KK?" I said, "Well, no, KK doesn't have supervision either." He said, "Well, do we know anybody that has supervision?" And I said, "Well, Zane, the superheroes have a supervision, but we don't really know any of them personally." And he said, "Well, Mom, how on earth are we ever going to do these things that require adult supervision?" It was just the cutest thing. It was just something that you could not make up. And so from that day on, and when the boys got old enough to understand especially, we talked about supervision and how we would have supervision about things that we wanted to accomplish or things that we wanted to do. And then both my children were in vitro babies, and I was infertile, and God just led me down past, when I was first found out, I was in a career where there's no way I could afford to do anything like that back then, because it was so expensive when it first started. And then I got to a point where I could actually afford it. I go to the beach, which is where I do all my best praying and my best writing. And I talked to God and said, I'm at a crossroads. And I know that you've led me to a place where I have the income now to do this. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a $15,000 gift for my birthday, and it was the gift of in vitro fertilization. Back then, I think it was between 27 and 30% chance that you would even get pregnant. It was a really big journey, and the medications were mind-altering and mood-altering. But during that time, I told my boys, I said, I did have supervision. I had such clear vision. My dad had given me a book, and it was called The Power of Positive Thinking. And I think that book was written in 1958 or maybe 54. And it's just a great book, and you'll hear lots of people talk about it that are in the motivational, inspirational industry. And one of the quotes in there, and I may not have it exactly right, but it says, if you want something, you have to see and feel it done already. And so when I was at the end of the in vitro, getting closer and closer to where they retrieve the eggs, and then they put them in a petri dish and that kind of thing, but when I was getting closer and closer to the end of that, I remember visualizing. And after I read that book, I was doing everything positive. And I remember this one song I used too. It was, I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. And I was just running around like this, listening to that song. And I saw a little boy. I never saw a little girl, but I saw a little boy in a diaper. And the diaper was full of pee-pee, and that little boy was running from me, and we were chasing each other, kind of like there's two doors on the other side here, so we were chasing each other around and around in the house that I was moving into. Didn't even have it painted, but I could smell, it was so real to me, I could smell the pee-pee in his diaper, and I'm not kidding you, I made it that real, and I went that deep and that far with it. So let's fast forward 20 years. And my youngest son now is 23. The other one's 25. And so my youngest son was living with me at the time. He had just finished college, and we were living together. And he watched me after the surgeries and during the diagnosis and before I even got the diagnosis back. And he was really observing. And so he said to me, because he could hear me, oh, all the time. I was searching on YouTube for different diet things that I could do, different alternatives and that kind of thing. I knew that, where the tumor was and what it was likely. So I was trying to get some education constantly. And he could hear me during the night, because I would have, when I'd wake up, I would turn it on. And so he came in one day and he said, Mom, why are you not using your supervision? And I said, what do you mean? He said, you're not meditating, you're not visualizing, you're not seeing this done already. And I thought, wow, kids, if you raise them right, they grow up and they teach you so much. And it's so true. And so I had to go back. And this is why I'm telling you this story, because I want you to go back. If you're suffering a loss, a difficult diagnosis, or if you're just trying to get over a hump with an illness, you have got to use your mind to help you. You've got to use the spirit. You've got to use your mentality. And you got to open your mind, and you got to visualize yourself doing whatever you need to do. If you're a person that's sick in the bed and can't get up, you have to visualize yourself, even if it's going to the potty. I mean, I remember doing things that I was celebrating like I'd had a third child. I was so excited. And you have to visualize that. I tell my boys to this day, if they've got a big day coming up or something's happening, I say, just think about calling me and telling me right away what happened and tell me all about it. I have a close relative that's having a cancer diagnosis and trying to heal himself naturally. And I told him, I said, just think about calling me the second you get out of there. Just go ahead and visualize that. Think about it. And he was so into it and so ready for it and so fired up for it. And there's lots that has to happen there. But the more you believe that it can happen, the quicker it can happen. It's ask, desire, believe, and receive. And so I'm going to tell you another thing that really helped me too. I went on YouTube during this time. Not only was I learning about different nutrition and alternatives, medications, and that kind of thing, I was watching near-death experiences. It's called NDE, and it's on YouTube. And I was watching that because at that time I didn't know where I was with my diagnosis. I didn't know yet. It took a few weeks for it to come back exactly what it was. And as a result, I just didn't know what was going to happen next. So I was watching that, and then once I started watching it, one led to another, led to another, led to another. These people were changed forever when they went to the other side. When they came back, it doesn't really even matter if it was a dream or if it was real or whatever it was. They're changed forever. So many people never got to share their stories because they knew people wouldn't believe them, or it conflicts with different religions, which drives me crazy. But what can you, anyway, I just don't judge. And almost without fail, unless somebody had been a bad person, they came back a changed person and knew that they didn't go where they wanted to go. But most people didn't want to come back, and most people were pushed back, and some people had a choice to come back, but they always came back so much more wise. And it's so encouraging, and it helped me so much to deal with or think about death and the peace of death. A lot of people can talk about it, but they can't feel it. They're just saying that. But the truth is that it just gave me so much peace. So I want to encourage you to do that. And I also want to encourage you to visualize. Visualize exactly visualize contacting me on social media and telling me of an accomplishment. You just don't realize, friend, you do not realize that you could be this close to a breakthrough, but you choose to sit in the bed, or you choose to stay in the dark place that you're at if you suffer a loss or a difficult diagnosis, or if you had a terrible breakup like I did, lost your mom, all those things are terrible, but you've got choices still. And one of those choices is to think positively. See it done already. See yourself at a family reunion. See yourself walking. See yourself calling people on the phone, telling them about it. Love what you're seeing. Feel, and the very best time to do this is at night, right before you go to sleep. Always ask yourself a question before you go to bed. And then, in the morning when you wake up, right when you wake up, just start visualizing and start smiling. Last night I was in bed and I just started smiling, and I was just like, I was on the phone with a friend, and he said, what are you thinking about right now? And I said, I'm just thinking about how grateful I am, how beautiful my life is, and how thankful I am. You can't be in gratitude and angry at the same time. You just can't. So I just wanted to share this with you, and I want to offer you a chance to get your supervision tuned up. because you can do this. You're so close. I believe in you. If you need some coaching, if you need some help over this hump, I'm happy to do it for you as a gift to you. But I would need for you to let me videotape us so that we can share with other people who are going through exactly what you're going through. And so join our channel. Please like, subscribe, put some comments so that the algorithms will get bigger and we can help more people. But I see what's happening here, and I took this diagnosis that I didn't know what was going to happen. But I knew that night in the hospital that I was going to use this. When I first heard about the tumor, I knew I was going to use this for the greater good. I just wasn't sure how. But here I am, and I'm here to help. I don't know if you're that one person, but I know there's one person at least that I'm going to help. And I'm going to hear from them, and I'm going to know that all of this is worthwhile. So you have a fabulous day. I look forward to seeing. Girl, let's work together and let's get that glow back.